And welcome aboard. We are all anxiously waiting to hear from you. Congratulations, first of all, from all of the radio show hosts.
Well, appreciate that. Appreciate the time this evening to talk a little bit about it. And, of course, we all appreciate the support that all of you have given us over the last few years as we've been getting ready for this. So it's great to be on to share with you some updates and some thoughts as to how we're pushing this forward. So hello to everyone.
The microphone is all yours. Jim?
Yes. Hi, Ed. This is Jim Hart. Really, really happy to hear you and look forward to your comments.
Okay. Well, it's last week was a good week for the new Eastern and in some ways the old Eastern. You know, I think it shows the power of the name and all that had been done to build up that name over many, many years. When we put out a very simple press release to announce that we had filed with the DOT, and I'll talk about that in a minute, you know, it spread fairly quickly. CNN, some of the local radio stations, of course, in South Florida picked it up, but then, you know, Brian Williams picked it up on his nightly news telecast from New York. And I think that shows the power of that name, even 23 years after the last flight, that it still has that aura or mystique to it. So we're very pleased to see that. The universal feeling that we got from everywhere, all corners of the globe, was a very, very positive response to what we're doing. So, you know, we felt fairly good about that. The filing went in to start the process. The first paperwork that goes to the Department of Transportation to say, here's who we are, here's who our investors are going to be, here's how the equity shareholdings all fall out, and here's who our management is, here's who our initial board of directors are. And that really starts the process. And so they'll process that application over the next few weeks, come back to us with comments, but it also allows them then to signal to the FAA that this effort, this project is for real, that the management is sufficient to carry out the task, and that the board of directors will provide the proper oversight, and that the FAA should start their work as we get ready. What the FAA has to do now is ensure that they've got the right resources available to them in the South Florida FSDO, Flight Standards District Office, so that they can oversee our certification effort. And so that really the DOT filing, as we call it, really is the first step in that and allows the process to go forward. Concurrently with that, and this will make everyone smile, we've also applied to IATA, International Air Transport Association, to regain the two-letter code EA, which, as you know, Eastern used for many, many years. And that's when you identify a flight, it's EA 203 or EA 504, whatever it is. But that two-letter code is very, very important, particularly when we get into code sharing and interline agreements with other carriers. We also applied to through the FAA office for the three-letter designator EAL and the traditional call sign used in air-to-ground, which is Eastern. So that paperwork has gone in, and they're starting to process that even in advance of when that traditionally gets submitted, because of the fact that this is Eastern and that they want to see this move forward as quickly as possible. So, two things going on. We're very pleased with investor response to what we're doing. We're very pleased with responses that we're getting from Airbus and some of our strategic partners, and so I think we've had a good launch of this, and that bodes well for us as we now get into the real nitty-gritty of the certification. The certification work actually started about 90 days ago when we brought on the specific FAA consultants who are needed to help us pull together all the new manuals and operating procedures that we need to pull together to submit to the FAA probably in about 3 or 4 months from now. But that work has started and has actually been going on for some time. So we're sort of ahead of the curve in terms of the certification at this point and getting ready for the submission to the FAA. So a bunch of things are going on. All of it's very positive. A lot of good responses to our the new website that we put up, which I think a lot of you have gone on and taken a look at. We'll continue to work on that and improve that. It's got history of Eastern. It's got bios on the management team, bios on the initial board of directors, some pretty neat pictures from the past, an artist rendering, which is probably not the final version, but it's a long way towards the final version of what the first airplane is going to look like. And that first airplane, of course, is going to be called the Spirit of Captain Eddie Rickenbacker, because we think that tie is very, very important to our past. So I know a bunch of you have started to sign up on our Twitter account, Fly Eastern. That's a great way for us to get the word out about things that we're doing, keep everyone up to date on what's happening. So, we'd love to see more and more people get signed up on that and follow our activities. And we post pictures of old airplanes, put out little news tidbits. So it's sort of a neat place for people to come and see what's going on. So with that, that's kind of an overview of what's happened in the last couple of weeks. Certainly, Neil and Jim will take any questions that anyone might have. So.
Okay, host, any questions out there? I'm sure we've got some callers online. Let me identify the area codes that we do have on the board. 678, area code 678 is with us, and area code 954. We have a bunch of folks. Yes, sir. Is that Vito? Vito?
Vito Pirelli, how are you?
Doing fine.
I'm online here with you, and I was happy to hear all the information that's going on, and just to let Ed know that we're 100% behind him. And my office has been inundated with phone calls in relation to when Eastern's going to start. I got people wanting to come work, just nothing to help you get started. That's the kind of dedication we have, Ed. I just wanted you to know that. So we got 9,000 people on our roster, and like I said, everybody's rooting for you. So all I can say is, if we need any help, just give me a call. We're right there to help you.
Well, I appreciate that, Vito, very much. You've been a big supporter of ours and all of the retirees down here in South Florida and elsewhere. I get a lot of messages from Atlanta and New York and other places, so that helps keep us going. One of the things I forgot to mention, you probably saw it on the website or in the press releases, that we've taken office space in the old Eastern Operations building, Building 5A,
Right,
and
right.
we took possession of that about a month ago. Moved a bunch of people and furniture and stuff in, and we've occupied a portion of the second floor. Actually, the entire second floor is vacant, where everyone will remember Eastern had a huge operation in that building. So, we eventually hope to fill out that entire 20,000 square foot second floor, maybe take over the third floor at some point. But we're back in the old operations center, so it's.
Yeah. You're right opposite my office, so all I can say, if you need some help, just give me a word, and I'll get people to help you out. I got people willing to come over and help you out.
Sounds great, Vito. Appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Ed, could you give us the website that you're on?
Yes, if you go to www.easternairlines.aero, A-E-R-O, that will take you right to the website. AERO. Yeah, that's the new. That's the new website web address for aviation companies. We still have, as an aside, there is someone out there squatting, as we call it, on EasternAirlines.com, and we've got lawyers working on that to get that back from them. But in the meantime, EasternAirlines.aero will take you to the website. And it's got a pretty neat opening, and then you'll see some other information on there. We're working to put a career section on the website so people can submit resumes or their letters, so that we can start to put together a personnel file and keep people on file for when we start hiring. So.
Ed, do we understand that you are going to be doing considerable charter work using travel agencies, possibly?
Yeah. Well, the way we've the way we structured the application to the DOT is initially submitting as a supplemental carrier, and then as we move further into the process, we'll eventually amend that filing so that we'll go to a full U.S. flag scheduled carrier application. We submitted this way because the amount of disclosures on the front end are a lot less, and it's a much simpler application. It allows us to get started, and it will also in many ways help us because it will reduce the number of potential objections that could be raised to Eastern coming back. And believe it or not, there are some out there who would probably not want to see us come back. So we have identified the ability to operate both a charter and a scheduled division. Charter is important, and charter is in the sense that we're going to be operating for other airlines that need additional lift, additional capacity out of Miami and some other places. In fact, the first 2 airplanes have already been contracted for from us from a major international airline. They'd like us to fly into the Caribbean for them off of Miami. So it's really an adjunct to the scheduled service business. It could be a very important revenue stream for us in the years to come, but it also allows us to get the airline certified and get some airplanes in the air. But as I said, we will probably amend the application sometime by the summer as we raise additional capital, additional equity to go to a full scheduled application. So the intent has always been to put Eastern back into scheduled service out of Miami, and that's our current plan, and we're on track to do that. Again, the first level of application is as a supplemental carrier, which allows us to get the process started.
I was happy to hear that you were going to be working with travel agents, because during my days at Eastern, I had as many as 500 travel agents under my wing at any one time. And unfortunately, the airlines have, I think, forgotten how good they can be as a source of income for the carriers.
Well, sure. Well, on the charter side, where we would be working with is some of the bigger tour operators like Apple Vacations and some of the large, Carlson Travel. Those that actually will charter a whole aircraft to take their people out of a specific location like Philadelphia or Baltimore or even South Florida into Mexico or the Caribbean. So those are good programs because they're on what we call a track charter program where you do 2 round trips a week or even more. And it's a fairly steady stream of business. And given the fact that we've got Eastern on the side of the airplane, it gives the tour operator and also the customer, the passenger, a much higher level of comfort that this is an airline that they can trust. So it's for us, it's good business for us. It's good business for the tour operator. It's also very good business for us as we offer this service to a number of the airlines that fly up and down the East Coast that often have mechanical issues or they need additional lift during certain periods of time. They can turn to us as Eastern and know that with all that we're doing and all the infrastructure that we put in place, that we can support that operation.
Ed, I've got a question too, actually. First one is, let's say that I have a group of people. I am associated with a large group here in the Jacksonville, Florida area, and they do charter airplanes from time to time. And if I wanted to connect with you, this group, how would I go about doing that?
Well, as of right now, I mean, you can just have them send me an email. I think you've got my email address. We're obviously not in a position to be able to give any firm commitments because we don't know exactly how long the certification process will last. Remember, that's an FAA program, so we will We will continue to work with the FAA until we have satisfied every requirement, and they say we're ready. And our objective is 12 months, but that's not anything that we can dictate. It's the FAA's responsibility to ensure that we can operate safely, and that period of time is up to them. So, we'd certainly love to start having discussions with people, but understand that we can't make any firm commitments until we're much further into the process and we know, when, with a little bit more specificity, when we think the certification will come through. We're currently working on a program now where we would take our first aircraft, currently projected for early September of this year. We've got to run it through the conformity checks and get it ready so that we can fly it in proving runs for the FAA, which take about could take as long as 60 days of proving runs. We've got to get our training captains and our cadre in place, both the flight crews and also the flight attendant crews. We've got to get all of those people in place. All of those have to fly on the proving runs and prove to the FAA that they can operate the airplane, and that then becomes our training cadre. So we're looking to take the airplane, if all goes well, early September, get it through maintenance, and be ready on our flight line to start the proving runs in October, which should run 2 months, and then 30 days after that of cleanup with the FAA, filling other requirements. So we're projecting right now, if all goes well, sometime at the end of this year, being handed our ticket to operate. But that can change, of course, with things that might occur on the funding side with the FAA or with other requirements that may come along as we go through this process. But so we're projecting 12 months. It's taken some a bit longer than that. The team that we've hired to certify us has gotten airlines through in as quick as 9 months. But that's in different times. We live in a time when there's much more regulatory requirements and much more pressure on the FAA to ensure the safety of all airlines. So,
Could I say something real quick?
Sure.
My name's Charles Ed. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm excited that Eastern's coming back. My dad flew on that for many, many years, and I got a lot of Eastern memorabilia in my room. And like I say, I'm real excited for it to come back, and hopefully you all will be able to fly up here. And if you do, I'd be more than willing to work for you.
Okay, well, appreciate that very much.
Ed, this is Chuck Albright. I'm the maintenance guy of the group. How many planes are you going to be thinking about starting out with, and who's doing your maintenance that you've been talking about?
Yeah, we typically an airline will start with obviously at least one airplane, which we need to get through the certification. We will try to take a second airplane about the same time that we get certified, so that we've got an airplane that can serve as a hot spare as well as an airplane that we can train crews on for the IOE. And then we'll look to take a third airplane fairly quickly after that, because we think that there's, from what we've seen so far and the discussions we've had, there'll be quite a bit of demand from tour operators and other airlines for our initial set of aircraft. So we're going to try to start with 2, get to 3 very quickly. Within a year, within a year after getting certified on the charter side, we would certainly be at 5 or 6 airplanes, depending upon availability and getting crews up and ready for that. On the scheduled side, as we get ready for that, the plan is to be at 25 airplanes in scheduled service by the end of year 4, which is not overly aggressive and not a slow approach to the business. Taking about 5 or 6 airplanes a year is about right, and won't stretch the organization to the point where it's too stressed, and also so we don't outrun the capital that's available to us. So by the end of year 4, we'd expect to have 25 to 30 airplanes in revenue scheduled service and a charter division, if all goes well, of 5 to 7 airplanes.
Are you getting these planes from Airbus, or are these planes you're getting from other sources?
Well, on the scheduled side, we'll take new deliveries or deliveries of new aircraft from some of the leasing companies that basically control all of the delivery positions over the next 4 or 5 years. On the charter side, we will take used A320s, combination of 319s and 320s. 319 is a little smaller. It's got about 10% less seats in it. It's a great way to provide the tour operator or the airline client an option to go with a smaller airplane if that's what they need and a slightly lower operating cost rate. So the used aircraft will come. The first ones are coming from an extremely reliable national airline in Europe. We will have all of our maintenance will be done by an extremely well-known legacy airline here in the U.S. with a tremendously efficient maintenance organization that they can place into Miami for us. So, we believe the combination of the Eastern name, being able to say that our maintenance has been outsourced to one of the best airlines in the world in a partnership with us, as well as all of our pilot training being outsourced to that same carrier, to provide all of our training needs, is a fairly powerful statement to the market, and the market being tour operators and other organizations that want to charter airplanes, that we've got a very strong operation and organization behind us.
Ed, this is George Jen in New York. I have a question for you as far as the scheduled service goes. I read where your niche market is going to be into Latin America. As you know, one of the airlines down there in South Florida, namely Spirit Airlines, is a very low-cost, extremely low-cost carrier that no doubt would fight very fiercely to maintain its market share down there. Do you plan on going into the scheduled market as a low-fare carrier, or is that too premature at this point in time?
Well, we certainly will have to start with fares that are lower than the incumbent carriers in the market in order to gain our market share versus our seat share. Now, our product is different than Spirit's. We intend to be a legacy carrier with the Eastern name, with the advantages or the benefits of being a new entrant carrier, which means that our costs are lower by definition because we are operating one aircraft type and our employees are all first-year employees as opposed to airlines that have employees that have been around for 30 or 40 years. So by definition, our costs are lower, much simplified operation with one aircraft type, one hub, simple operation in terms of how we schedule the airplanes with an outsource focus on the major functions of maintenance and pilot training and information technology. So, Spirit gets a different customer, quite frankly. They get them in with a lowball fare, and then they do all sorts of things to them to get that fare up to basically where our fare would be. And our pricing on our fares and amenities that we provide and the way we approach the market will be very similar to JetBlue. So we won't charge for the first bag, we'll charge for the second bag. Everyone else charges for that first bag. We'll have meals in business class and a little better approach to the market that's sitting in economy versus what, say, a Spirit would do. So Miami is the preferred airport to fly in and out of. It is the airport where you can get the connections from Europe and Asia and all across the U.S. And it drives a bit of a premium on the ticket price because of that. But also that market wants a different level of service than if you go up to Fort Lauderdale and you want to get on a Spirit airplane. So that customer is not the customer that we're going after. If that's the product that they want, then then they can drive up to Fort Lauderdale and have that. And look, Spirit's a tremendously successful airline. Their business model works. Our business model is going to be slightly different than that. But, we think that there's going to be a shift in the consumer focus over the next few years as we come out of this, the economic downturn, and we're in what seems to be a full-force recovery. Despite what Washington does, the rest of the country is repairing itself. And so over the past few years, airlines have been able to get away with the notion to the market of saying, we're going to give you the absolute base product, and we're going to give you the lowest possible fare, and the consumer has responded to that. And they felt that, to them, over the past few years, value has meant what is the least amount I can pay for the most minimal level of service. We think, based on all the market dynamics that we see, that as we come out of the downturn and we're in the recovery, the consumer focus changes. And now their definition of value is no longer what is the lowest possible price I can pay for the most minimal amount of service, and I'll put up with anything to get that. It's now turned to a definition of value, which is not overpaying for quality. So, we think over the next few years we're going to be moving up the quality curve. The amount of service that you have to provide to the consumer has to be more than what has been offered over the last few years, because we're out of this whole notion that, hey, it's economic doom and gloom, and so we've got to offer we can get away with offering nothing because the consumer has come to accept that. Well, that's changing. So Eastern's going to be a legacy carrier. The new Eastern will be a legacy carrier with the advantages of being a new entrant carrier in terms of its employees and its simplified hub operation, one aircraft type, but the ability to really shape the product today to really meet what we think this market wants.
Ed, Cecile here in South Florida,
yes,
and
Cecile,
I'm
go
from
ahead.
Ecuador. I'm from Ecuador, South America, and I agree 100% with you. Most of the business travelers will recognize, most of the people in South America will recognize, like in Ecuador and where we used to fly, the Eastern Airlines plane, and trust me, they will feel much more comfortable getting on an Eastern Airlines plane even if they have to pay a couple of dollars more, because they travel with family. Safety is their main concern, and the main thing is they'll recognize the Eastern Airlines name. So I can tell you personally, being from South America, that's going to be really big there. And I'll email all my Ecuadorian family, of which I have a lot. So
Okay.
I thoroughly agree that, and you have a lot of business travels that will pay a higher fare. They're tired of all the nickel and diming that the lower fare airlines are giving, and they want service.
Yeah, we agree with that sentiment. We think that putting the Eastern name back into Latin America will create a lot of excitement, but also a lot of a feeling of security and certainty among the traveling public that this is that even though we're a new entrant airline, there's a substantial legacy behind that that they can count on.
It's also a reminder that they connect Eastern Airlines with Disney World, and most of your travelers, when they come to Miami, they hop over to Disney World. So if we could get something at Disney World like we had before, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I've got a number of messages from people saying asking if we could recreate the If You Had Wings attraction, which, yeah.
Speaking of that, are you working on any kind of theme music, or are you planning on using some of the old theme music of Eastern, because it was so well done, good taste?
Yeah, we've got a number of marketing groups working on various pieces of the branding and the marketing development and so forth. I haven't seen all the results of that, but we'll eventually get around to that and figure out all those pieces.
Very good. We do have several callers on the board, and if you'd like to ask a question, just press 1 on your dial pad, and that'll put you right into the queue here. Any of the other hosts comment?
This is Steve Thompson, Ed, and I only wish I was about 25, 30 years younger, and I could probably accommodate that because I have found an old family Bible that shows me to be about 30 years younger than I am.
You'd still be too old.
Well, that's okay, because this process has probably aged me about 30 years, so I'm probably catching up to you now. So.
Well, I'm not old, and I'm applying, Ed. This is Cecile,
okay.
but I'm not going to be the pilot.
The New Eastern, are you planning on using that temporarily at the very beginning of your marketing and just call it Eastern, or did you say the New Eastern Airlines, or how do you tend to start off with the market?
It's Eastern Airlines, and 3 words: Eastern, Air, and then Lines. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's the way it was before the combining of the airlines. So it's 3 words now.
It's 3 words. That's the way Captain Eddie wrote it, and that's the way we're going to keep it.
Very good. We do have a travel agent from the Philadelphia area. John, are you still with us? John Roos? He must have fell off here. But okay. Yeah, John, I think you could probably throw Eastern Airlines a lot of business from the Philadelphia area.
I sure could. There's a lot of our business that goes into the Caribbean, and some of it goes into South America. I think that it's a great thing, and right now, like I said, we're using primarily Delta for everything. So I'd like to shift it over to the New Eastern and make sure that, fill the airplanes up and make some money and make sure we have market share.
Ed, I've got a question that
I
think all of us are anxious to ask, but probably don't have the nerve. But do you suppose you might work, maybe Vito can do this, but work a pass plan with all the old Eastern people, C3 passes?
Yeah, we definitely will have a program. Realize that in the beginning we won't have a lot of seats out there, but as we get bigger, that program will have more effectiveness. But we'll certainly sit down with Vito and make sure that there's a plan in place and a program for all of our retirees to be able to fly on us. So
there you go. Thanks for answering that question, Ed, because I've been getting calls, inundating calls about that same question. Oh, we ought to be able to fly on the New Eastern Airlines. I says, I'm sure we'll make arrangements. At time comes, I'm sure we'll be able to fly on it. So that's some of the calls that I've been. I also want to mention another thing. I want to mention another thing. We have a couple of boys here that their parents or their father used to work for Eastern Airlines, and they own a couple of airplanes here at Perry Airport. They made up a banner of Eastern Airlines, and just this past year at our picnic, they flew over the picnic grounds with the Eastern banner saying Fly Eastern. So I was just thinking, you want to keep that in mind.
Okay.
Time comes. If you want to have some advertisement, we got a couple of boys from their father used to work for Eastern. So
that's great. Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
Hey,
okay?
listen, Neil and John, I've got to go back into a dinner meeting with some investors. So if you don't mind, I promise to be on the call in a couple of weeks again.
Very
give
good.
you all an update. So I'm going to
you,
sit off at this point. But thanks, everyone. Thanks for everyone's support, and we'll keep plugging away at this.
Thank you
so much.
Okay.
Good luck,
Thank you very much.
Good luck.